Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another new movie review. Today, we're going to be talking about The Wind. Directed by Emma Tammy, The Wind is a supernatural thriller set in the western frontier of the late 1800s and stars Caitlin Gerard as Lizzie, a plainswoman driven mad by the harshness and isolation of the untamed land. So I do have to mention right away that this is a slow burn horror movie, and I just feel like I have to mention that now because out of all the different types of horror movies I review, I feel like slow burns are the most divisive. Not in a bad way, just I know a lot of you guys don't like them. It is a slow burn, so if you don't like them, you might not like this movie. It's just gonna warn you outright. However, this was definitely one of the better slow burns that I've seen in a while. I feel like the past couple of ones that I reviewed, I ended up not liking ultimately at the end. Like they were the type of slow burn movies that didn't really amount to anything. Definitely not the case with this movie, so I loved the classic is she crazy, is she not crazy vibes. That's a pretty common thing in most horror movies, I feel like, especially the psychological ones like this one. And you can interpret this movie in so many different ways. You can look at it definitely you can look at it the 100% supernatural route, that it's a demon that is like terrorizing Lizzie and her husband and their neighbors. You can look at it as a metaphor for postpartum depression. You can also look at it like it's just the sheer isolation of the place that makes her crazy. So I should explain, like I said, these are frontiers people, and Lizzie and her husband are pretty much the only people that live out where they are. There's another house about a mile away, but they make it seem like it's hard to keep people there, and that could be because the demon, that could be because of the isolation. They're living out all by themselves in a place where other people have not settled yet. And to be honest, I like to entertain the idea of just interpreting this movie as all three options. I don't know, I didn't really pick one when I was watching the movie, which was interesting. I thought for sure I would definitely run with one of the options, whether it being her going crazy because of the isolation, a demon, or she's just depressed. And this movie gave me epic The Hollowed One vibes. I think I've talked about this book before. The Hollowed Ones it's more just that kind of the isolation that it reminds me of, because this is a story about vampires that's set in an Amish community. So it really has nothing to do with the wind and this frontiers woman. I think what really reminded me of it, because what really scares me about this book is the fact that it's in an Amish community. So when it's nighttime in this book, it's dark. It's real darkness, not like the dark we have now where it's yeah, it's dark outside, but there's people's house lights, there's street lights, and all this other stuff. It's not out in the suburbs and the cities. There's no true darkness. So I think The Wind reminded me of this book in the sense that when it gets dark in the movie, it gets black. It reminds me of why I'm afraid of the dark, I think, this movie, and that's why it reminded me of the book so much. And of course I loved the Western vibes in the movie. They're not super strong. It's not people are walking around in cowboy hats and stirrups, and even though I'm not super well versed in that genre, I know enough to know that it's pretty much a male dominated genre of movies. So it's nice to see a kind of take on that where it's female centric. We have a female protagonist and she can take care of her shit for the most part, besides the whole isolation, which would make anybody crazy. But her husband Isaac has to go away for a couple of days, so she's by herself, all alone out there, and she she can handle the chores, she can cut a baby out of a womb. That happens. She can shoot, she, for the most part, she can handle her shit. So it was nice to see a take on a Western, but with a female lead. It's very much female-centric for the whole movie. Like I said, Lizzie's husband Isaac isn't there for a good portion of it. The movie bounces back and forth between the present and flashbacks. So he's there for like the flashbacks, but I would say like maybe he's there 50% of the movie, maybe. The rest of it, you know, is either Lizzie by herself or a flashback where the Harpers are their neighbors and Lizzie's interactions with Emma. And even Emma's husband, Gideon, isn't much in the movie, and he's kind of useless. The Harpers move out to be their neighbors to this, you know, harsh land, and they're kind of not prepared for how much work they have to do, like living out in isolation like that. And neither of them are prepared, but Gideon is completely not prepared. And I think Emma's presence just exacerbates the kind of like mental illness like theme of the movie, whether it be depression or just the isolation, because it seems like the women are affected the most, which I thought was interesting. I was trying to like explore, like while I was watching it, I'm trying to like figure out in my mind like why they're affected more than the men. I mean, you could go like kind of like the stereotypical route, like women are definitely seen as more emotional and intuitive. So they, you know, if you want to go like the demon route or something, they're maybe, you know, their intuition, they're picking up on something that their husbands are not. And it also could be they have more stuff to do to occupy their time. The women obviously out in the movie, out in this harsh land, the women still have a lot of chores to do, but maybe they just don't have as many chores to do. I don't know. I was trying to figure out like why it seems like the women are affected more by this than the men, but I don't know. It's fun to entertain. Like I'm definitely going to be thinking about this movie for a while, and that's awesome. Like I love when a movie stays with you long after you've watched it, and it's not in a bad way that I didn't understand it. It's just there's a lot to unpack and a lot to discover with the movie, so it's gonna stay with me for a couple of days, like, and I'm gonna keep thinking about it and keep thinking about it. So that's awesome. So overall, if you like any of that stuff that I was talking about, you'll definitely like the movie. And there are twists and turns. I just didn't mention them because I didn't want to talk about spoilers. But to give you a comparison, if you like stuff like The Babadook, I feel like this movie is like kind of similar in like vibes, if that makes sense. So if you liked The Babadook, I feel like you'll definitely like this movie. If you like slow burns, you'll definitely like this movie. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. I quite enjoyed it. On IMDb, it has a 5.6 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 79% critic score, and that's out of 52 reviews, and a 54% audience score, and that's out of 63 reviews. On Letterboxd, it has a solid 3 out of 5, and in terms of those of you that have seen it, it was mostly 3s and 4s from you guys. So if you have seen The Wind already, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about it. Of course, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here and become a Creepy Peep today. I post videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you can ring that notification bell down there to be notified every time I post a video, even though it like never works. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye.
This video is brought to you by all these lovely creepy patron peeps that you see listed on the left-hand side of the screen. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep, you can follow that link that is in the description of this video. No pressure, but it's there if you want to check it out. Thanks for watching. Bye!